So today, the 820th issue of Debka Weekly has come out, and I've looked at it. And initially, I wasn't going to say much about it, and then I saw a video of Vladimir Putin meeting with Habib Nurmagomedov and his dad, and something that he said towards the end of that video, which really jumped out at me. Very, very strange words and very ominous words. So, just to get context, I'm going to go ahead and read, I believe it's two of the articles on Debka Weekly, issue 820. And the first one I'm going to read is: a Russian hoax hid a missile ambush lurking for U.S.-Israeli jets over Syria. Since the Russian Il-20 air crash off of Latakia in September 17th, Moscow has quietly assembled layer upon layer a missile configuration designed to ambush sophisticated U.S. F-22 and Israeli F-35 stealth planes taking to the sky over Syria. Debka Weekly has tracked this process and breaks it down into three interlocking steps. 1. Allaying Trump administration concerns about an impending military clash with Russia came first. Moscow signaled James Jeffrey, the new presidential advisor for Syria, through back channels that a new Syria deal with Washington was available and awaited his early visit to the Russian capital. Number 2, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was also persuaded not to be alarmed by President Vladimir Putin in person. Number 3, the Kremlin's conciliatory diplomacy was a hoax designed to distract attention from the Russian Defense Ministry's painstaking assembly of a broadly based air defense missile shield in Syria made up of 5 parts. The first, a number of aging S-300 batteries were shipped to Syria to lull American and Israeli Air Force commands into trusting that overcoming them would be child's play for their 5th generation stealth aircraft. The second point, in the 3 weeks after the Il-20 incident, Russia's munitions industry upgraded those S-300s. When they reached Syria, they were in tip-top condition and ready to serve Russia's schemes for ambushing American and Israeli warplanes. Whereas Russian officials spoke initially of 4 to 8 S-300 batteries being consigned to Syria, that too was bogus. It was only on Monday, October the 8th, that the vast scale of the clandestine deliveries came to light. 3 full battalions sets of S-300 PM systems of 8 launchers each, every set armed with 100 missiles, hence a total of 300 anti-air missiles with 24 launchers. The Russian National Army was compensated with brand new S-400s for the S-300 batteries taken out of their arsenals for Syria, a feat of military crash logistics worthy of note. On the sidelines, Moscow and Tehran inked in a discreet accord notching up their military collaboration in Syria. It included the immediate transfer to Syria of Iranian teams who had been manning the S-300 missiles, protecting their nuclear facilities for the past 2 years. In return, did you get that, folks? So, did you hear that? So Russia is going to bring Iranian Iranians to Syria to man these S-300 missile systems in. In return, Tehran granted Moscow landing rights in western Iranian airspaces for Russian bombers and freight planes bound for the Mediterranean and Syria. Moscow's scheme of deception was put together straight after the IL-20 plane crash, which was seized on as the perfect launching pad for Putin's next plans for Syria. Through September, Russian officials spread word that no more than 4 transporter erector launchers of low capacity would be sent to Syria. The full scale of the fraud was laid bare on October the 10th when the vast quantity of S-300 missiles was revealed. Newly upgraded, they were now up to combat tasks and providing density of fire. These capabilities will finally be measured when they go into action, but the Russians are sure they can bring down a certain number of hostile aircraft in action over Syria. The Russian official source also revealed that the S-300s were handed to Syria free of charge. Until those disclosures, U.S. and Israeli Air Force commands assumed that the Russian air defense weapons installed in Syria were capable only of engaging high-flying aircraft with specific signatures at longer distances and only when their radars had good lines of sight to their targets. Israeli jets were instructed to keep low-flying sorties and match their approach to target by using the mountains and high land along Syria's southern and eastern borders. This plan exploded when Moscow was discovered to have plugged this hole in the S-300 missile shield with additional top-line systems, the Pantsir S-1E and Pechora M2s, which are designed to attack low-flying aircraft as well. I want to go ahead and then read what Vladimir Putin said to Khabib Nurmagomedov after the Conor McGregor-Khabib fight. As you know, Khabib jumped out of the ring after he defeated McGregor and went after one of Conor McGregor's companions, his sparring partner, and proceeded to try to beat him up, got himself in a lot of trouble, and a couple of his friends got arrested. So he went back home and visited with his father. His father said he was going to punish his son. And then Vladimir Putin had a meeting with them. And Vladimir Putin was talking with them and, congratulating him for defeating Conor McGregor, and said, yes, Conor McGregor was trying to get inside the man's head by insulting him like he does with everybody. And he also mentions that something to the effect that, Russia and the Dagestanis had a little history, but that's all been patched up. We're all family now. And I'm quoting him now, word for word. But if somebody from outside attacks us, we can jump also, and everybody will regret it. And in parentheses, it says a little threat to other countries. Now, you can take that little statement however you want to. But in light of what Russia is trying to pull on Israel right now, you can tell that he is blending in his statement here on the video. Vladimir Putin meets Khabib and his father to discuss Conor McGregor fight, and this statement is made at the 5 o'clock mark, the 5-minute mark on the video. But if somebody from outside attacks us, Israel didn't attack them. What he's doing here, he knows this video is going out for everyone to see, and it is translated. This is a threat to any nation who, in his mind, attacks Russia, whether it be in Russia proper or whether it be in Syria, I would suppose. And I wanted to go ahead and talk about this particular video before we got to the next thing on Debka.com, because I felt it was very important. So the next one is Putin is twisting Netanyahu's arm before any new military deals. How to reconcile the new traps Moscow has set for Israeli jets operating against Iranian military targets in Syria, with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu almost affectionate tone in referring to his next meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Netanyahu, like Donald Trump, clearly believes that his personal diplomacy at the highest level can move mountains in any dispute. How else to explain Netanyahu's optimistic expectations of his still undated sit-down with Putin, which he voiced on the day, Monday, October 8th, that Moscow announced the delivery of 3 battalion sets of S-300 air defense systems with 300 air defense missiles to Syria. Delivering another poke in Israel's eye, Russia decided to man those systems with import Iranian teams, as Debka file first revealed. On that Monday, Netanyahu announced that Israel would not give up its permanent sovereignty over the Golan, which must be recognized by the international community as a bulwark for stability in the near region. If Iran and Hezbollah attained a foothold in this strategic plateau, they would soon overrun the shores of the Sea of Galilee, Kinneret. He said both had repeatedly tried to create a force for attacking the Golan and the Galilee, he said, but Israel has pushed him back. He then turned to the Russian leader. I know that President Putin understands my commitment to Israel's security and also appreciates the importance I attach to the Golan, he said confidently. 2 days later, a cold snub landed from Moscow. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov pointedly told reporters, the status of the Golan Heights is determined by the resolution of the UN Security Council. Changing the status, bypassing the Security Council, would be a direct violation of these resolutions. Netanyahu often has been warned by his own intelligence advisors, as well as Debka security analysts, that he overdoes his visits to Putin, reads too much into their warm tenor, and overestimates their areas of agreement. Putin is a smiler, says a senior member of the Israeli National Security Council, but behind the bonhomie and goodwill is a liar. He may scatter promises, but neither he nor his minions intend to honor them. Netanyahu's worst mistake, another advisor said, is deluding himself that he is the only one who can convince Putin to make allowances for Israel's security interests in this strategic planning. He is wrong, says the advisor. Putin will never vary a single iota from his set course or compromise in the slightest on his country's strategic interests for the sake of Israel. The Prime Minister sees this, but insists all the same that whenever he picks up the phone for a date with Putin, he gets one. There are numerous and frequent tete-a-tetes, he says, gives him a chance to badger Putin until maybe one day he can keep his promises. In any case, he maintains the Trump administration wants nothing to do with Middle East troubles, especially in the areas of Russian military involvement. This leaves Israel with little choice but to maintain good relations with the Russian leader and Moscow's military establishments. Wow, this thing is long. I don't think I need to read the whole thing. What I'm trying to say is, if you listen to Vladimir Putin's little short sentence at 5 minutes into his little talk with Khabib Nurmagomedov, he said there exactly what he thinks concerning other countries. He did not mention Israel, but you know that's exactly what he meant. Okay? So, again, as I say, this is long, and I think I've covered all the points. Definitely, Russia has become a very serious problem for Israel at a time when it appears that the glory of Jehovah, our Father in heaven, may have been seen around holy place. On, what was the last day of Sukkot? It was in September. On September the 30th. Okay? Now some say it was the day before. Not sure. But it wasn't that long ago. So, this is very, very serious. It's a lot more serious than the Russians are trying to portray it. So, pay attention. Keep your eyes open.